Welcome to the TikTok podcast. The clock is always ticking, so let's synchronize our watches and dive in. I'm your host, Callie Brigham, and I'm here to help you make time for what matters. Well, hey friends, welcome back to a special, extra special, really double extra special with a cherry on top bonus episode today of the TikTok podcast. It's extra special because I have the privilege of introducing to you a truly inspiring guest. And when I think about her, I think of her as a powerhouse. She is ambitious, she's dedicated, she's resilient, she is a devoted mom, and and she's also a woman with big dreams for her career and a drive to achieve them. Today's guest took a super courageous step for her and for me, honestly. And you'll hear more about why I say that. But she joined our mastermind group, our very first ever mastermind group, and really embraced what we were doing there. And through our journey, she, in my mind, she demonstrated growth and transformation. She was very open to learning and triumphing. Is that right? Triumphing. No, what is that word?
That sounds great to me. I'll take it.
Having triumph over challenges. All of a sudden, I was like, that's just not the right word. Okay, see, this is the real deal, you guys. This is the real deal, and she is the real deal. So wait, I'm not done introducing her. She deserves her whole full intro, even though I can't say that word very well. Okay, but when I think about Chanel, I think about how she trusted the process. She truly made an investment in herself, like a literal investment in herself, and saw this mastermind as an opportunity to refine time management skills and balance her emotions and align her daily actions with her long-term goals. So I believe, Chanel, you are a testament to what can happen when you take a chance on yourself and you commit to personal and professional growth. So on that note, mostly perfect with a little bit of a mess up there. But we don't edit the show, Chanel. So please, everyone, welcome Chanel Weddington. And she is one of our very first mastermind graduates. We've got a couple groups of mastermind graduates, and you just get an A+ girl. I just have to say. So I wanted you to be on the show to talk about your experience. And also, I know you're an avid listener. It's kind of fun to be sitting here on the other side, right?
Yes. A little nerve-wracking. I'm not going to lie. I've never done podcasts, but I've absolutely loved your podcast and absolutely love the mastermind, and just so honored that you would have me on here. And man, could you I need a recording of that so I can hear it over and over and over every day.
Well, you're in luck because now you can watch it on YouTube. You can listen to it. When you're having a bad day, be like, wait, what's Callie say about me? Even though she can't, I don't know, somehow delineate the word triumph out of this whole situation.
I love it.
But that's okay. That's okay. I will say too, on a personal note, we have laughed together. We have cried together. We have done it all, messy and real and authentic and genuine. And that's what we're going to hear today. I have a feeling. So, all right, let's kick us off by introducing yourself. Tell us a little bit about you, a little bit about your background. Let's start there.
Okay. Oh man. Well, thank you first and foremost, Callie. It's such an honor. And I'm going to talk more about this, but truly just because of who you be and who you are, have been inspired by you, watching you over the years, and knowing, that we've both been raised in the same world in some ways, but just truly admire you through all of the seasons of my life. You've been somebody that I've reached out to for all the things, which I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But a little bit about me. I'm an avid believer of Jesus Christ, and just so grateful that I get to share his love and receive his love every day. So that would be the first thing about me. I have a business marketing degree. I did not know what in the world I wanted to do with my life, but that is finally where I landed. And I'm a huge tomboy that never wore lipstick, and now I do makeup for a living. So you too can do anything that you say you're not going to do, because that's what I did. I was an athlete, and now I say I am a wife. I'm a mama of 3 miracles on this earth. That's a whole story which connected us as well. And I'm a homeschool mom and an entrepreneur and married to an entrepreneur. That adds a whole nother, into it. So yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell, I guess you could say.
I love it, Chanel. And yes, we have a lot in common in so many of the different areas. And we also, I think, bring a great perspective to when we have conversations because we each bring something different to the table too. Especially, I really admire and applaud the homeschool part of the whole thing too, because I know that's like one more hat, one more plate that to spin, one more thing that's really important and essential and a priority. And it also means that your time looks a little different than maybe some other people. So, all right, you had a lot of different things that I know probably could have drawn you to the mastermind group, but what was it that made you go ahead and say, and like I said, it was taking a chance. It was a leap on your end, my end. This was new for me too. And what made you decide to say yes to it?
Oh man. Okay. So this has been something a long time in my business. I feel like thankfully, with our business, we have a lot of great mentors. Um, sorry, all this cough. I have the same cough Callie has.
I know we're so aligned that we
It's
decided to cough as well. It's all
even
good.
the cough.
It's all good.
And I've learned throughout my years, I've been doing my business for 11 years. And one of the things I've learned is you don't take advice from people you wouldn't switch places with. And I take that very true. I'm very literal. I'm very to the point that if I don't want your marriage, I'm not going to take marriage advice from you. If I don't want your bank account, I'm not going to take money advice from you. If I don't want how you're raising your children, I can't. And so, one of the things that I over and over have just prayed over, God align me with leaders who I would switch places with in more areas than one. And you with the TikTok and just starting that, became an avid listener with your mastermind with that option. And so really it was just me being in a place where I was ready to invest. I've never done anything like this. I'm married to an investment broker. So, that's a whole nother avenue. And I was like, I talked to him. I do like to make decisions with my husband. Not everybody does. And that's one that I do, especially when it comes to money, because obviously that's what he does for a living. And so, we talked through it and it came down to, I was finally at a place to find the clarity that I needed. My brain was ready. I was ready. And most importantly, you, in my opinion, were the right one. And so again, it was an investment for me that one, I had to be accountable to. So I knew that if I paid it, I would, I'm an achiever by nature. If I'm going to pay for something, man, I am going to make sure I'm going to make it happen, even if it was in the car half the time listening. But also just very much ready for a shift, ready to take it to the next level. And I didn't really know what that meant, whether that was life, business, whatever that meant. I was just ready for it. And so I think that's what drew me to it was your TikToks, just knowing who you be and the life and the way you raise your children, the way you run your business, your devotion to the Lord, all of those things. And then just really at the right time and ready to invest in myself.
I remember we had a Zoom first before you decided, and you were praying over it, and you were, again, seeking counsel and talking to your husband about it. You did tell me, I know, something pretty cute when you would ask your husband a question about something else. Not to say that I'm like one of the rubber bracelets of the, like, what would Jesus do? But I remember you saying that he would sometimes say to you, what would Callie do? Right?
Callie do. Yeah.
Yeah. And I take that really humbly and seriously. So I remember on our Zoom together, Chanel, when you were saying, okay, what is this? Is this mastermind for me? And I was saying, is this mastermind for you? And we immediately, it did not take long for you to open yourself up, to be willing to be vulnerable. And let me also say, you are a very high capacity leader in of yourself. You are not someone who is questioning whether or not you're a leader. You are. So for a leader to be able to say, I'm willing to be open to somebody else who might even shine a light on areas that are opportunities for growth, right? Or areas that maybe I'm not living myself fully, or areas where things are out of whack and out of balance. That takes a lot of courage to be able to do that. And I remember in that Zoom saying, okay, I think she's got it. I think she's ready. And the crazy thing is when you do something like a mastermind or you coach with the right person, because I've done that too, um, it's it's not a lot of change. I think, Chanel, people think that when they do this, everything's going to radically change, but the changes are kind of small and then the results are big. So we had a theme going into the mastermind, and I'll let you talk about that a little bit too. You can talk about kind of what the theme was, however much you want to, and I can add to it, and then how that resonated with you personally. And one last thing I'll say is I didn't know that this was going to be the theme going into the mastermind when I created it, but God just kind of really downloaded that. So if we want to talk about the theme of it and how that resonated with you.
Yeah, let me cough one more time.
I know. Take a drink if you need to. It's all, yeah, it's all good.
It's
Yeah.
just sitting there. Yeah, so you really started in on the be, do, have. And, I think as an entrepreneur in general, you're constantly thinking about the end, like what legacy do you want to leave behind? That, and that's one thing too. I'm a very strategic person and I love coaching. I love coaching women to use their gifts and their talents that God created them to be. And that was really that Zoom. You brought that back. I hadn't even thought about that. That Zoom was, for me, the eye opener was you were asking me questions that I couldn't ask myself, or I had not asked myself. And I needed someone to challenge me in a question that I had not thought of, because that is something that I love to do. I know I'm equipped with that. I know I love coaching people. And generally on the other side of it, I can ask the right questions. And for the most part, I can ask the right questions to myself. I can self-coach, but that was a really big point. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I remember after that being like, and that was one of the ways I told my husband, I said, she asked me questions I haven't thought of. And that's really hard to do on my, mind when you do this. So the be, do, have was pretty much the theme throughout the whole thing. And it resonated with me so much because of my strategic thinking. I love to watch what others do. I really do believe like a leader is a great learner, right? But sometimes you need to make sure you know who you be fully, to do those things and not take on everybody else's. And, if you had asked me walking into that, I would have said I knew exactly who I was. I know my beliefs. I know what I stand for. That's never shifted. But I think what there was clarity in, or that I needed so much clarity in, and this probably isn't really even what I'm talking about, what I wrote down, but was really how to be the wife and the mom and entrepreneur that I wanted to be. Because, one kid was one kid, two kids was two, and three, they say, is a tornado, a tidal wave, like all the things at once. And then you throw in a woman who was public school all the way, going for homeschool, the one thing I also said I would never do. And I just felt like, we were in the middle of my daughter being in kindergarten, when we started this. And I just felt like I was floundering. Like, I don't really even know what I want to teach you as a kindergarten teacher. That is not my gifting. So I laugh about that. But to really resonate with who I wanted to be as a wife, a mom, and an entrepreneur in that order, and a follower first, of course, of Jesus Christ, and a woman that wants to share the gospel and make sure that people know the Lord and truly strive in that. It took you asking me those questions, and the do it have the tools and things that just came along, that like coincided, but like writing it out and really narrowing that down was like on a whole different level for me with clarity. And I've shared with you, it's brought so much clarity in this new year in my business with Mary Kay. And I'm just so excited.
Yeah. And I'll just go ahead and share kind of the story that I shared with you guys on our very, very first mastermind that we had, where I mean, I was sweating through my clothes. I'm like, what is going to happen here today? But man, there's nothing like that very first one that we had with your group. It was really special. It was a sacred time. But I shared this story, this be do have story, which is there was a man, a father, and he was talking to a friend of his, and he said that he really wanted to have a boat. Like that was his, like, okay, where's this going? And he was talking about this boat that he really wanted. And the friend was like, well, why do you want the boat? And he's like, well, if I have this boat, then I can take my boys out and we can fish together and we can spend time together. And then I'm going to be a better dad. So his whole idea was this boat was going to be the thing, right? The boat was going to bring them together. The boat was going to cause them to spend time together. And then therefore he was going to be a better dad because he's investing time in his kids. So the friend was just kind of, asked him some questions. He's like, well, how long is it going to take you to get enough money for the boat? The man said, I don't know, maybe a few years, to save up and whatnot. And he said, okay, well, how old are your boys going to be by that time? He was like, oh gosh, well, I mean, at that point, they might be in their late teens, right? So they might be out of high school or even in college. And I don't know that he was really going to be able to spend as much time with his kids at the time that boat would actually come to fruition. So the friend says to him, I'm going to challenge you. Instead of thinking about this boat first, what could you do right now so that you could be the kind of dad that you want to be? So the dad says, well, gosh, I mean, I guess we could just go down to the lake and I could just spend time with them as it is, and we'll just bring our fishing poles. And so that's what he did. He thought, to be a good dad, it's really time. That's what it is. It's like, that's what I want to do. I want to ask him questions and just kind of have that quality time with my boys. And so he did, and they go down to the lake. And before long, this boat pulls up, and the dad and his son start to interact and talk with the owner of the boat. And it turns out the owner says, hey, you know what? I'm not here very often. I'm kind of in and out. What do you boys think about maybe taking care of my boat when I'm gone and just maintaining it? And you can use it whenever you want. And then when I come back, it'll be ready for me. And in that moment, the dad realized that it was not about having the boat. It was not about being on the boat fishing. It was about first deciding what kind of dad he wanted to be. And so that's really where we started this journey. That's what Chanel is referring to, is we spent the whole first month focusing on who do we want to be. Then we were able to say, what does that kind of person do when they're living above the line? What kind of things does that person do when they are living in excellence? And then what are the things that could come from it? Instead of the reverse, which most people literally have, then do, then when I have that, then I will do this, then I will be that, right? Okay. So anything else that you want to elaborate on that as something that stood out to you?
Yeah, I love that story just because I'm such a visual person. Like I can totally see that. And I think it's just it's a great story of like what matters in the end, right? What matters when everything's said and done. And I think that was really it. Is Chanel, you're trying so hard to achieve something, because I am an achiever, right? But like in the end, what is it that you really want to achieve? And if you're missing now, then you're never going to achieve those things. And I think it resonates with just like, who do you want to be? Like, what is the legacy you want to leave? What is, what do you want your children? I remember, I think it was national sales director, or excuse me, she's not national yet, but Amy Kemp said one time, if I get and I do everything that I wanted to do, and I look at my family and they suffered, like, what would be the point? And I just remember thinking right then, like how I had done things in the past. That's been years ago, but how I did things in the past was not that would not, I would not have wanted my family on that stage that year, or whatever it was. And I just remember thinking, I want to make sure that I'm being the wife, the mom, the follower of Jesus, the way that my life looks more than what I achieve. And as an achiever, like I said, that's a hard thing, because my second strength is competitiveness. So there you go. Just add on all in.
Girl, I've got that in my top 5 strengths too. But you know what? I heard someone say that our strengths are not about us. They are our contribution to the world.
Love that.
Isn't that great?
Love that.
So our strengths aren't designed for us to be all about us. Our strengths are designed because that's what we give to the world. So through that competitiveness, through that achieverness, you're able to give things to the world. And then the byproduct are the things, the moments, the experiences, and whatnot. So one of the things you're able to give to the world are your contributions and your strengths as both a homeschool mom and in your career. So that's a lot to be able to navigate. Tell us, how do you do it? How do
Well,
you do it?
woo, it's definitely been a challenge for sure. Like I said, that is not my background, and teaching is not my spiritual gift. So really funny. I can coach all day, but teaching is a whole nother ballgame. For years, Kelly, I remember when I had my first little girl, Selah, and I remember messaging you in such desperation. Do you remember this? I boxed you. I think it was the first time I got up the courage to box you, in desperation of like, hey, so could you tell me, like, what's your schedule? I just have no idea, like, what an entrepreneur mom looked like. And I'm really freedom and flexibility. And so a whole lot of structure just seemed very overwhelming. But what I have come to realize, and even more so through the mastermind, is that my schedule and my life is going to look like no one else's. When 2020 was happening, dads were coming home. Mine was going. It was more work. I just had to finally grasp that my life was going to look different, and that is okay. And so, as a homeschool mom, my kids are 6, 3, and 1. I think that's important to know, because they're not all in school. And so having 2 toddlers and a 6-year-old who's now about to be in first grade, I have really had to have my priorities in check. Am I doing it God first, family second, career third? And am I doing it? Am I pushing her to fix in my time zone of what it looks like for me to achieve my goals? And so one of the things I wrote down was that, in my 20s, what my dreams were in my 20s have shifted completely of what my dreams are in my 30s. And that's okay. And I'll be honest, it's very much not about the scoreboard anymore. As much as I would love to say that I can thrive in every area, and I do, I still am, leading over 150 women and 3 offspring sales directors. But it's more about the peace in my family. And I remember wanting it to be very peaceful, and that I didn't want my kids thrown around. And so my schedule had to get very strict. And then me and you had to even walk through that's not my nature. So how to throw in flexibility. And I've actually recently heard from Craig Rochelle. I don't know if you listen to his podcast, but he talks about you have to be focused yet flexible. And I am really taking that. You have to be driven yet healthy. And, those are a couple of things that I just am like really taking to heart and putting in play this year. But as a homeschool mom, it's just not going to look the same as everybody else's. My life doesn't look the same. When I work, my business doesn't look the same. We do a co-op. And so Tuesday, Thursday, she does go to a little class for a few hours. By the way, none of it's in my town. I drive everywhere because I'm in a rural town in Tennessee. But I just love that I finally have the clarity, and I would say the freedom to know that it is okay to very much set boundaries on when I'm homeschooling. My unit knows that now. My women know that now. It took a year, but I've just grown in my discipline. And the verse, I guess, is really, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. Hebrews 12:11. And I think your podcast has even thrown in so much of those, with just listening to the time management skills, just continuing to layer and the things that I got, I would say the tools that I got from Mastermind that you gave that really helped me break down my day to day, to know what I wanted to accomplish and to be okay with it when I was done, and not to feel like I had to add more and more and more. Cause I do think sometimes it is adding more to my time. And I guess I would just add that, my children are a gift, and it helped me gain clarity that the number one thing I wanted was for them to know and be rooted in the love of Christ. And so my life is that model. You can say more's caught than taught. You could say, do as I say, not as I do, but really and truthfully, more is caught than taught. And I just wanted I think clarity through the mastermind helped me really say, Chanel, it's okay if you don't hit everything on the scoreboard. What matters most?
There are different scoreboards, aren't there? And when you talk about your children being a gift, and I think about you being an achiever and a competitor, what an honorable scoreboard to be on, where your achievement is a peaceful home, where your achievement is time invested in your children. It does go quickly. I can say that with 2 teenagers now. To be competitive for your time and your boundaries, right? And your disciplines and your when to be driven and when to be healthy at the same time, right? What you just said. We worked a lot on your schedule,
Mm.
and it really became a beautiful thing. There were times when you would stack things. There were times when we made sure that tennis was a priority,
Yes, 100%.
which
Yeah.
might sound crazy for other people will be like, "That's not on my list at all." But we realized that was so important. You didn't have to think about anything else. It was holistic for you. Right? There was so many other things that only you knew that you needed that in there and that schedule. And now, isn't that one of the things that brings you
Oh,
so much joy in your schedule?
it's the thing that my husband goes, you need to go do it. Like, I mean, and I'm so glad you said that. I didn't write anything down about tennis. The guilt that I used to have for that. And I actually learned this from your podcast. You said something about working out is my medication. And I laugh because I've become such a crunchy mama now. And I never in a million years dreamed that. But tennis is the one thing that challenges me in a physical aspect. It makes my brain think differently, and I am a better wife, I'm a better mom, and I am by far a better leader when I've had at least 2 to 3 times a week. And it's a sacrifice. When I say yes to that and no, that means no to my kids for an hour and a half because I'm driving. But like, I'm so glad you said that, because and it took that clarity, which I think I'm going to talk about in a minute, but and gave me such relief that there was not guilt. You helped me so much with that mom guilt, that entrepreneur guilt, that wanting to achieve guilt, and where in those areas I could actually do that and still be healthy.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, Chanel, because I'm the mom that's just a little bit ahead of you.
Mhm.
Right before I came in here into my office to record this podcast, I saw my daughter out in the living room. She created her own little workout routine. She was doing like 15 push ups and then a plank for a minute. And then she's 13. I didn't have to tell her, hey, let's strengthen your body. Let's strengthen your core. Let's be strong. Let's be healthy. She sees her mom doing it. And naturally, she's like, that's what I want to do for part of my day. Right. So, what you're doing right now, your kids are watching, whether they become, world-class tennis players or whether they just know that it's good and important to honor your body and take care of your mind while you're doing it. That's part of it too. So, okay, couple more questions and things that we want to talk about. This has been like amazing. I've loved it. Any examples of how the mastermind did help you in any other ways when it comes to your time management?
Yeah, I mean, oh man, you said one day, be curious, not judgmental. And that was one of the things I remember messaging you like, don't let me forget to say this. Because that was one of my biggest things was that you asked us to do that with a few things. And what I would do when I would do time management things was I would just judge them all day. You should have been doing this. You didn't do this long enough. Oh, you never got to this. And when you said curious rather than judgmental, and then I had my list of what I was supposed to be curious about, um, it narrowed me down to like what my heart really desired and what really were my priorities. And also it helped me go, hey, the mastermind goes, Mary Cash always said this, one intense hour is a dreamy day. And you helped me figure out in those hours, because sometimes it was 1 hour, sometimes it was 30 minutes a day with my wild schedule. Um, what to have ready. The brain drain has just been a huge shift. And I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say that I do it every week, but I mentally sometimes do it daily. Is going through those things, and it is something that I have in my new calendar and my planner this year to make sure that I do weekly. But it was just having those tools and making sure that I grasp those tools to be able to take it to the next level for the priorities. And I mean, the mastermind, that curious, not judgmental, and then with the backing with the tools, all the tools. The brain drains is the one I know everybody on here knows, but it's just, it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. I can't talk about it enough.
Yeah, we had some exclusive tools for the mastermind girls. The brain drain is open for everybody, but there's a lot of shame that happens. There's a lot of shame, especially again for achievers. There's a lot of shame for people that might feel like they procrastinate or that they feel overwhelmed or for those that, are really intense in what they do, that the list is never ending because there's always something to be added to it. So that's what we did. We just said we're scientists, not judges. We're curious. We don't judge it. And then from that we can really get healthy and then really create some very, very clear priorities. Okay, so lastly, how would you say that the mastermind helped you? I know some people don't like the word balance, but I don't mind it at all. Balance your ambition and your family. These sometimes they feel at odds.
Right. Yes.
Sometimes, a lot of times, almost all the and
Uh,
I don't think for men they do, right, Chanel? Like,
no,
I mean,
no,
do guys
they don't.
ever?
No. I think it was truly figuring out what I wanted to be balanced. Let's be really honest. That was really what it came down to. Was I think women so often think of balance as truly balanced. And in Mary Kay we say harmony a lot of times rather than this. But when you look at a scale like 8 to 5, there's no balance there by the time you get home and all the things. And so I think what the mastermind did was it just brought such clarity and intentionality from you. By the way, I just want to say, like, I'm going to say this maybe in a minute too, but how you were so intentional with me is not anything I've really ever had before. We have unbelievable people in my business who mentor, but you being so intentional almost on the daily. And with my ADHD mind, sometimes I would like blow you up. And then other times it would be like a week straight where I'd be like, where's Chanel? I don't know. Cause I forget about Boxer. I don't know, and I'm like, oh, I haven't talked to Kelly in a while. I wonder if she's messaged me, I just want to
And
say,
then I'm like, I will come
yes,
find you.
yes, and I love that, and I needed that, and I want to say I will throw this for the women who are used to getting great training at their fingertips. One of the hardest parts for me was to remember I had invested in this and that it was okay for me to reach out to Callie, because that was hard for me to do. As a leader, I'm like, I don't want to take up any more of her time. I know she's busy with all the things. I was like, wait a minute, Chanel, you have invested so that you will not feel guilty to take up any of her time, and she'll get back to you when you want. She has those boundaries. And so it was like walking myself through that. Those little things, even, I know I kind of got sidetracked from your question, but those little things even were so eye-opening to the balance of what I really wanted and what I expected out of the mastermind. And if I didn't put in the work, how was it going to get what I invested in? If you do, you can invest all day, but if you don't do the work on the other side of it, all those trainings, all those people you brought in, all the tools absolutely would have been pointless for me. And I just was not willing to not have a point, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a really special journey of discovery. It was an opportunity, I think, for all of us to get out of our comfort zones in our mastermind groups. It was a chance to kind of see what we were made of. But at the end of the day, it was, I think, what I wanted it to be was a safe place for growth. And to say that you can have a lot of things, you really can. I believe that, but it doesn't happen by accident.
Mhm.
So, was there anything else that you noticed that it didn't happen by accident and you were able to kind of bring it all together to see, again, the ultimate clarity or what you wanted from it? Any last things that you want to share about that?
Oh man, I think just looking back, I just see how like God totally divined this. And I think sometimes as women, we pray and we pray and we pray, and then we forget to take the action. And so, I just think the mastermind helped with the clarity. It helped me with the tools, but it also helped me with what I really wanted to have in life and what the legacy I wanted to leave. and what I need to do it. You know, it's funny you just said that with growth. My word for my unit this year is growth, which just blows my mind because I kind of forgotten how you even said that. And I mean, I have an acronym. I have 10 things that we're growing in, and it's just, you know, I think the mastermind just helped align that. So if anybody's looking for that, I think that's it. You want a coach that's going to ask you questions you couldn't ask yourself. You know, I looked at you being a mom that has kids older than mine. Like I wanted that. I wanted that, all of that. And then success in what is successful to me and what is successful. I think, you know, I think it just brought down those priorities. It showed me what I needed to work on. It showed me what I have been doing great at, which I'm not always great to tell myself. I can tell everybody else, but you helped me narrow down like what I was good at. And you could see things in me that I couldn't necessarily see in myself. And it gave me the confidence to utilize my gifts and my talents. And like I said, the intentionality is just, it was unlike anything I've ever done before. So I just appreciate you more than you know, truly. Your investment in the time and the energy into me and into my family, right? Because as Craig Rochelle says, when a leader gets better, everybody gets better. And so I just think as a mom, as the thermostat of my household, like when I am better and I am more clear, my household is on a whole nother level. So
Yeah, I remember even conversations we were saying, okay, we want your husband to love the decisions that you're making. We want him to feel great about it. We want it. I mean, we were talking about him. I said, he's going to love me by the time this mastermind is over.
yes, who loves you? Who loves
He's
you?
going to love me. I need to meet this guy in person. Our husband, we need to meet in person. I mean, you and I know each other in person, but our husbands need to meet. And my daughter can totally babysit your kids. Trust me. She would love it.
Love that.
She would love it. No, but that's what we said. You know, at the end of the day, and one of the last things that I'll say about it is our emphasis, it was a 90-day mastermind. Our emphasis wasn't necessarily on the 90 days. Our emphasis was on day 91. What was going to happen after this was over? Because anybody can do something for a short amount of time. We talked about Whole30. Anybody can eat clean for 30 days. What happens on day 31? And that was really, Chanel, what I have loved. I love the mastermind with you, but I've loved post mastermind with you. I loved getting messages the other day from you saying, oh my word, I have my system so tight. I'm loving it. I feel so great. My people are loving it. That's what it was all about at the end of the day was, yes, the growth in 90 days, but from there, what? And so that's been really exciting and energizing for me too. So, all right. I always have a bonus question and it's a gift. It's the gift, especially when you said all the things and all the hats that you wear at the beginning. It's the gift of an extra hour or the idea of it, Chanel. So, what would you do with your bonus hour?
Oh man, I have been waiting in this question because I love it. I love every time you ask it on TikTok, but I'm going to throw it back. It's been through the mastermind that you helped me just like truly discover this. I have now my favorite thing. It's my favorite thing. I'm an extrovert and becoming an introvert. I don't know. But my favorite, the one thing, the 1 hour I'd want to do is go to my in-laws lake. It is behind their house. It is absolutely beautiful. It is where I met my husband, it is where he proposed, and it is where we got married. And we spend a lot of days and I sit and I get to have quiet time with the Lord. I journal. I would do that and look at the horses and do a walk. I've become you in so many ways you haven't even realized. I walk and talk and work all day, and I walk and talk in silence. And so I walk that loop, and for that hour, when you say it every time, I'm like, oh, I know exactly what I do. And I love that too because you helped me realize that needed to happen as a mom, as a woman who needed her brain to shut off at least once a week. So on Wednesdays, I do that. But if I could have 1 more hour, I'd do it more.
1 hour is great. The idea of an extra hour out there. Oh, even better. Even better. Well, I've decided that not only do I want to encourage my guests to take that and to do that and put that in, but I'm started to insert myself in that too. And I'm like, okay, you can have your hour alone. And then maybe I can come walk with you for an hour and we can sit for an hour. So next time I'm in the Memphis area, I'm going to just have to extend my trip so I can come a little bit farther north and hit that lake with you. How's that sound?
That would be amazing. I would love it. I would love it.
Awesome. Well, any last words that you want to say, Chanel? This has been such a delight. Like, this was worth every moment that I stressed and worried and prayed and cried over doing my very first mastermind courses. Anything you want to say as we finish up?
Well, I think I just want to say, like, it has proven Callie's true testament of when you follow what the Lord says, do it. And your and has been a huge blessing to my family. And so, I just think that if somebody is trying to figure out what their life looks like, or if, hey, should I be doing something like the mastermind? Yes, you should be if Callie offers another one. So there's that. But truly, I just want to say to you, because of your obedience in the Lord and taking a chance, your and has blessed me and my family, my unit, the women that I work with, my kids, like all of it. And just it just shows how when one person's obedient to their daily walk and what God has in store for you today, truly how many people are going to be affected by your and. So I just appreciate you more than you know.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it means the world to me, Chanel. And I just sometimes have to stop and say and I don't actually mean this word, but how lucky did I get? So, because I don't believe in luck.
Right.
But how I got to be this girl, I guess I could say, how I got to be the girl that gets to spend time with you and feel like I'm part of your family and a contributor in that way too. It is the ultimate blessing. And I can't wait to see the little ripple effects that happen that we may or may not see on this side of heaven, right?
Right.
So, well, thank you for your time. Thank you for literally the investment that you made. Thank you for the time investment, the energy, the emotion, the financial, all those things. I look forward to seeing what's going to continue to happen. Thank you for sharing with our audience. And I will just say that if you're interested in a next opportunity with a mastermind or a course, or you are interested in coaching, you can reach out to me. There's nothing that you register for yet on my website, but you can go ahead and DM me and I'll make sure that you get all the information to come. So you guys show some love, please, in any form that you want to, social media, commenting on the YouTube, or leaving a review for the show. So Chanel, thank you, my friend. It's been amazing, amazing experience.
Love it. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. And thanks everybody for watching. We'll talk to you next time. God bless. Thank you for joining me on the TikTok podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and leave a 5-star review. Your feedback fuels our mission to help you master your time. Set your alarm for our next episode, and until then, make every moment count.